Morning students. Last class we learnt about Ivan tries, isn't it? How he is trying to escape from the prison, isn't it? So Ivan tries O level. So here Ivan is going to appear for the O level German examination, and there were two officers, police officers are there for the in duty to or giving protection to whom? Ivan. One is Stephenson, the other one is Jackson. Then the governor himself is involved in this, and Mr. McLeary came as an invigilator, and we learnt about they were searching or examining the bag of McLeary. What were the things they find inside? There were the newspaper, that is the Church Times, and the Holy Writ was there. Then specs were there, and papers were there. All these things they searched. Up to there we learnt. Now let us continue. Do you mind telling me why you have brought this, sir? He held up a smallish semi-inflated rubber ring such as a young child with a waist of about 12 inches might have struggled into. You thinking of going for a swim, sir? So they were examining the suitcase of whom? Jackson, isn't it? Jackson was examining the bag who was carrying McLeary, isn't it? So he suddenly found a rubber tube inside the bag. So do you mind telling me why you have brought this, sir? എന്തിനാണ് കൊണ്ടുവന്നത്? He held up a smallish semi-inflatery rubber. Semi-inflatery means half swollen rubber ring, such as young child with a waist of about 12 inches might have struggled into. You thinking going for a swim, sir? So he is asking, are you planning to go for a swimming? That's why you carried this. McLeary's hitherto amiable demeanor, amiable means friendly, demeanor means behavior, was slightly ruffled means disturbed by this tasteless little pleasantry. Pleasantry means courtesy, and he answered Jackson somewhat sorely. Sorely means bitterly. If A must know, A means you. Sorry. You must know I suffer from hemorrhoids. Hemorrhoids means piles. And when I am sitting down for any length of time. So he is suffering from which disease? Piles. So for sitting for a long time, it is very difficult for him. So that's why he used to use this rubber tube on the top of it. He sits. For that purpose, I brought. That is the answer given by McLeary. Very sorry, sir. I didn't mean it to err. The embarrassment was still reddening Jackson's cheeks. When he heard about it, Jackson was became little embarrassed. When he found the paper knife at the bottom of the case, then suddenly he had seen a paper knife. I think I would better keep this though, if you don't mind. That is a what did he say? I wanted to keep this paper knife. It was 9:18 a.m. before the governor heard their voices again, and it was clear that the examination was going to be a little late in getting underway. So all these conversations, who were listening? Governor was listening. And McLeary, you have got a watch? That was the question he asked to Evans. Evans, yes sir. McLeary, I will be telling A here means you, when to start, and again when you have 5 minutes left. All right. These are the instructions given by the invigilator. Silence. McLeary, there is plenty more of this writing paper. Should you need it? If you need more paper, I have a lot of paper with me. Then there is a silence. All these conversation, who was listening? Our governor. McLeary, now write the name of the paper 0211 in the top left hand corner. Silence. McLeary, in the top right hand corner, write your index number 313, and in the box just below that, write your center number -271. A, right. These are the instructions given by McLeary to whom? To Evans. Again silence. The time was 9:20 a.m. McCleary. I am now going to Evans. He is not going to stay here, is he? So McCleary is going to give another instruction. Then Evans asked, he is not going to stay here, is he? Then McCleary said, I don't know about that. Stephens. Mr. Jackson is given me strict instructions too. Then suddenly Stephens said, Mr. Jackson had given him some strict instruction. Evans, how am I supposed to concentrate on my exam with someone breathing down my neck? Christ, sorry sir, I didn't mean. So who is not liking whose interference? Stephens' interference. The governor reached for the phone. This conversation also, who heard? Governor heard. He had reached the phone. Jackson, good, get Stephens out of the cell. Will you? I think we are perhaps overdoing things. So when he heard that, Ivan was complaining he could not concentrate for his exam because of whose presence? Because of the presence of Stephens. He asked Jackson to call whom outside the cell? Stephens. I think we are perhaps overdoing things. What is overdoing means? Doing in excess. As you wish, sir. The governor heard the exchanges in the cell, heard the door clang once more, and heard McCleary announce that the examination had begun at last. So who is observing everything? Governor was observing. Not only governor, even who was outside? Stephenson and Jackson is outside. And then he heard that they are going to begin the examination. So next, what else? It was 9:25 a.m. and there was a great calm. There was no sound at all. At 9:40 a.m., the examinations board rang through and the assistant secretary with special responsibility for modern languages asked to speak to the governor. There is a call for whom? There is a call came for governor. From where? From the examination board. And the examination had already started, no doubt. A quarter of an hour ago. Yes. Well, there was a correction slip which some fool had forgotten to place in the examination package. Very brief. Could the governor please? That was the request made by who? The assistant secretary of examination. He just wanted to clarify that whether the examination started or not, and there is a correction slip related to the question paper. Could the governor please? Can I speak to the governor please? Yes, of course. I will put you straight through to Mr. Jackson in D-wing. Hold the line in a minute. Was this the sort of thing the governor had feared? And was the phone call a fake? Fake means not real. So governor started thinking, is the telephone call genuine or not? Some signal, some secret message. They started doubting because Ivan was famous for what? Jamming from the prison. Said it 3 times. That's why he was known as Ivan's the breaker. So then what else they caused next to you see? Was the phone call a fake? Some signal, some secret message, but he could check on that immediately. He dialed the number of the examination board but heard only the staccato bleeps of the line engage. Who wanted to clarify if the call is correct or not? Our governor. So he just dialed whom? Dialed the examination board. What sound? Staccato. Staccato means short and uneven notes. Bleeps. Bleeps means high electronic sound of a line engaged. What it indicated? The line is engaged. You must have heard. If you dial some number, that sound, beep, beep, beep sound will come. So that shows what? The line is engaged. Engaged means busy. But then the line was engaged, wasn't it? Yes. Not very intelligent that. So he is not that much of intelligent to influence the the examination board. That's what who was thinking? The governor. 2 minutes later, he heard some whispered communications in the cell and then McCleary's broad scout's voice. So then suddenly he heard some conversation is going on inside the cell of Evans. And he at the same time he heard whose harsh sound? McCleary's sound. So will you please stop writing a wee while? A wee while means a little while. Mr. Evans, and listen carefully. He wanted to give some more instruction. Candidates offering German 0211 should note the following correction. The correction slip reached where? At whose cell? At Evans' cell. So, he is giving the instruction to Evans to correct the question paper. On page 3, line 15, the fourth word should read goldenen, not goldene. So, this is a German question. So, the correction is made by McLeary, and the whole phrase will therefore read zum goldenen Loven, not zum goldene Loven. I will repeat that. So, you be careful, you remember all the corrections made in the question paper. The governor listened and smiled. So, governor is smiling after hearing the correction. Why? Because he had taken German in the 6th form himself. He himself studied German in the 6th standard, and he remembered all about the agreements of adjectives, and so did McLeary. So, he is very proud because he learned German and he knew that about what is adjective in German language. So, he is comparing, yeah, same way McLeary also knew. By the sound of things, for the minister's pronunciation was not impressive. But what about Evans? He probably didn't know what an adjective was. These are the thoughts going on in whose mind? In the governor's mind, because he is completely listening to what is going on inside the cell. The phone rang again, the magistrate's court. They needed a prison. Again another call came for whom? Governor. They needed a prison van and a couple of prison officers. Remand case. What is remand case? Remand means return a prisoner to custody for further enquiries. They have to get back the prisoner for further enquiries. For that purpose, they needed a prison van and a few prison officers. Within 2 minutes, who is supposed to sanction all these things? Governor. So, that is why the call came to governor. And within 2 minutes, the governor was wondering whether that could be a hoax. So, suddenly he is very suspective, isn't it? He is thinking that that call is a false call. He told himself not to be so silly. His imagination was beginning to run riot. Run riot means run wild. We can say run without any control, because he is very suspicious about whose movements? Evans' movements. He is afraid again who will run away from the jail? Evans. That is why each and every step he is looking at it very suspiciously. Then he is saying Evans. For the first quarter of an hour, Stephens had dutifully peered through the peephole at intervals of 1 minute or so. And you must be remembering when before the examination, the instructions given by the home governor to Stephens. Every 2 minutes he has to peep through the door hole, isn't it? Inside the cell, what is going on? He has to observe. So, he was actually in the first quarter of an hour, Stephen was very dutifully peeped through the peered through. So, here it is peered through, that is peep through. Peered through means peep through the peephole at intervals of 1 minute or so. And after that, every 2 minutes. First in the beginning, every 1 minute he is to peep through the peephole. Then afterwards he increased the time gap, that is 2 minutes. And at 10:45 am, everything was still alright as he looked through the peephole once more. So, 10:45 am it was okay. Again he just looked through the peephole. It took 4 or 5 seconds, no more. What was the point? It was always more or less the same. So, he is himself thinking, Stephen is thinking himself, no change, no problem. Why should I look again and again through the peephole? What was the point? It was always more or less the same. Evans, his pen between his lips. What's going on inside the cell? Evans kept the pencil inside his mouth. That is, then what else he is doing? Pen between his lips. Sat staring straight in front of him towards the door. What is he doing? He is not writing the exam. He is just observing the door only. He knew that from outside who is looking through the peephole? Stephens. That is why he is looking towards that peephole only. And seeking, seeking means searching. It seems some sorely needed inspiration from somewhere, like we people do, isn't it? For the examination, we used to beat the head. Oh, I do remember that answer and all, isn't it? Some actions we used to do. Some of them used to rub the forehead. Some of them used to bite the pen. Same way, he is also trying to get inspiration from somewhere. So, and opposite him, just opposite to Evans, who is sitting, McCleary, seated slightly askew. Askew means slanting from the table now. His face in semi-profile. His semi in an outline only. His hair, as Stephens had noticed earlier, amateurishly clipped pretty closely to the scalp. His hair is what? Not like a professional, not done with skill, you can say. Amateurishly means not with great skill, clipped pretty closely to the scalp, and his eyes behind the pebble lenses peering short-sightedly at the church times. What was the invigilator doing? He is reading the newspaper. And his right index finger means finger next to the thumb. Index finger hooked beneath the neck, narrow clerical collar. He is just putting his finger in the collar, and the fingers of the left hand, the nails meticulously manicured. He just observed his left hand. What is he doing? His nails are beautifully manicured, cut and polished beautifully, and slowly stroking the short black beard. And what else he is doing? One hand he is putting inside the clerical collar, and the other hand he is just putting where? In his beard. That is, what is he doing? Slowly stroking. Stroking means thumping the short black beard. That is what happening inside the cell. Who noticed that? Stephens noticed that. This is very important. You have to be very careful, otherwise you will not understand the story. At 10:50 a.m., the receiver crackled to life, and the governor realized he would almost forgotten Evans for a few minutes. So again he heard a sound. Suddenly governor was thinking, oh, I didn't observe the what is happening inside the cell. Evans, please sir, a whisper. Evans, please sir, louder. Evans, would you mind if I put a blanket round me, shoulders sir? It's a bit parky here. Array means here, isn't it? Silence. So he is asking the permission from the invigilator to cover himself with a blanket. Parky means cold. It's very cold here, sir. Shall I use my blanket? Evans, there is one on me bunk here, sir. There is a blanket lying on my bunk, sir. Be quick about it. Who said that? McCleary said that. Yeah, hurry up. Then silence. This is what who heard? Governor heard. At 10:51 a.m., Stephens was more than a little surprised to see a grey regulation blanket draped round Evans' shoulders. Then suddenly, who had looked through the peephole? Stephenson. What did he see that? He is surprised to see that the regulation blanket. What is regulation blanket? The blanket given officially in the jail. That was draped. Draped around means covered around Evans' shoulders. And he frowned slightly, looked at the examinee more closely. Frowned means getting angry slightly, and looked at the examinee more closely. But Evans, the pen still between his teeth, was staring just as vacantly as before. There is no expression. Even though he covered the blanket, he was just staring vacantly. Blankly beneath the blanket. Should Stephens report the slight irregularity? So Stephens had a doubt. Is it necessary to report the governor about it? Anything at all fishy? Is it doubtful? Fishy means doubtful. Hadn't Jackson said? He looked through the peephole once again. Even as he did so, Evans pulled the dirty blanket more closely to himself. Again Stephens peeped through the peephole. Who was doing, what was Evans doing? Evans was covering his blanket very closely. Was he planning a sudden Batman leap? Batman you all know, isn't it? Batman leap means jump. To suffocate. To suffocate who? McCleary in the blanket. Are you planning to jump from the jail by suffocating whom? McCleary using a blanket. These are the thoughts going on in Stephens' mind. Don't be daft. and crazy. Daft means crazy. There was never any sun on this side of prison. All these thoughts. Again, he himself think, oh, it's crazy. It's very cold because in that particular cell side there is no sunlight and it could get quite chilly in some of the cells. Stephens decided to revert to his earlier every minute observation. He again decided to turn back to in between observations, that is peeping through the peephole. At 11:20 a.m., the receiver once more crackled across the silence of the governor's office. Again the sound came and McCleary informed Evans that only 5 minutes remained. What was the instruction given by the invigilator? Only 5 minutes remained. The examination was almost over now, but something still gnawed away quietly in the governor's mind. What is gnawed away means? Gnawed away quietly the governor's mind. Some cold came into into the mind of governor. He reached for the phone once more. Once again, he likes to talk to the police officers. At 11:22 a.m., Jackson shouted along the corridor to Stephens. Jackson was calling whom? Stephens. The governor wanted to speak with him. So, why did the governor move towards the phone? He just wanted to speak to Stephens. Hurry, man. Stephens picked up the phone apprehensively, fearfully. He is a newly joined officer, newly appointed officer. So, very fearfully he picked up the phone. He listened to the rapidly spoken orders. Stephens himself was to accompany McCleary to the main prison gates. Understood? This is the instruction given by the governor. Governor asked Stephens to accompany whom? McCleary to the gate. Stephens personally was to make absolutely sure that the door was locked on Evans after McCleary had left the cell. Understood? And another instruction also given after who's coming out, McCleary coming out, he has to make sure that the cell door should be closed. At 11:25 a.m., the governor heard the final instructions given by McCleary. Stop writing, please. Silence. McCleary, put your sheets in order and see they are correctly numbered. Silence. Scrapping of chairs and tables. Pulling the tables and chairs. Evans, thank you very much, sir. McCleary, all right, was it? Evans, not too bad. McCleary, good, Mr. Stephens. Very loud. The governor heard the door clang for the last time. The examination was over. So, that such way examination was over. How did he get on, do you think? This is the question asked by Stephens to McCleary. He walked beside McCleary to the main gate. While accompanying McCleary to the main gate, Stephens asked him, how did he get on? This Evans. Oh, I can't think he is distinguished himself. I am afraid he will pass. His scout's accent seemed broader than ever, and his long black overcoat, reaching almost to his knees, fostered means supported, the illusion that he had suddenly grown slimmer. So, you be careful. Remember all these points. What did he observe? Stephens observed that suddenly McCleary looked what? Very thin. Stephens felt pleased that the governor had asked him and not Jackson, and he was so proud. Who was very proud? Stephens was very proud because governor asked Stephens to accompany whom? Accompany McCleary. See, not Jackson, to see McCleary off. See off means to bid farewell. The premises, and all in the morning had gone pretty well. So, he was so happy because he had done his duty very well. But something stopped him from making his way directly to the canteen for a belated cup of coffee. So, he just sent off bid farewell to whom? McCleary. Then he thought that he will have a cup of coffee. He wanted to take just one last look at Evans, but then he decided that he will have a look at the Evans, then he will go for a cup of coffee. He wanted to take just one last look at Evans. It was like a program he had seen on TV about a woman who could never really convince herself that she had locked the front door when she had gone to bed. Often she would got up 12, 15, 12 or 15, sometimes 20 times to check the bolts. So here he wanted to again check events. Suddenly he was remembering a character of a movie. So he had seen in the TV what type of a lady she was. Before going to bed, she used to check the front door bolt, isn't it? കതക് ശരിക്കും അടച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടോ എന്ന് എത്ര പ്രാവശ്യം അവർ ചെക്ക് ചെയ്യും? 15 times or 20 times to check the whether he had locked the door properly. Same attitude who also had Stephens wanted to check whom? Check Evans. He re-entered D wing, made his way along to Evans' cell. He again went back to D wing and he went towards whose cell? Evans' cell. Opened the peephole once more. Once again he just wanted to peep through the peephole. Oh no, cried Snow. There sprawled. Sprawled means lying stretched back in Evans' chair was a man. For a semi-second, Stephens thought it must be Evans. A man was lying down. 1 second he thought this is Evans only. A grey regulation blanket slipping from his shoulders. You remember, no? Evan was covered with a blanket. He had seen a blanket was just lying on the from his shoulders. The friend of his closely cropped. Cropped means cut. Irregularly tufted. Tufted means bunched. Hair awash. Awash means wet with fierce red blood which had dripped already through the small black beard. So what happened? His hair is was wet. His hair is, he had seen through the peephole. The man's hair is very wet. Why? Because of blood, and the blood is falling already, and it is reaching towards his black beard, and was even now spreading horribly over the white clerical collar down into the black clerical front. It is going and falling on the collar, and it is going falling down. What is falling down? Blood. Stephens shouted wildly for Jackson. Now who is afraid? Stephens is afraid. He just started calling Jackson, and the words appeared to penetrate the curtain of blood that veiled McCleary's ears. And the words appeared to penetrate. Penetrate means pierce through the curtain of blood that veiled. Veiled means covered McCleary's ears. Even the ear also filled with blood. For the minister's hand felt feebly for a handkerchief. The clergy just searched for a handkerchief from his pocket and held it to his bleeding head. And what did he do? He just put the handkerchief on the bleeding head. The blood seeping. Seeping means leaking slowly through the white linen. He gave a long, low moan. What is moan means? Crying. He started crying. Tried to speak, but his voice trailed away. Trailed away means left back. And by the time Jackson had arrived and dispatched Stephens to ring the police, he just asked Stephens, dispatch means send Stephens to go and get what? Call the police and the ambulance. The handkerchief was sticky and squelchy. Squelchy means sucking, a sucking sound by walking in soft, wet mud, that type of sound. And odge of cloth. Odge means thick, solid piece. McCleary slowly raised himself. So Jackson is now near whom? McCleary. Raised himself. His face twisted tightly with pain. His facial expression is what? What type of expression? With pain. And Dina worried. Dina worry means don't worry about the ambulance. You don't have to call the ambulance. Man, I am right. I am all right. I am all right. Get the police. I just wanted to speak to the police. I know where he is, where Evan has gone. Who is speaking? The man in McCleary's dress. He closed his eyes and another drip of blood splashed. Splash means fell like a huge red raindrop on the wooden floor. The floor was wooden. So in the wooden floor, a drop of blood fell. And his hand felt along the table, found the German question paper. So the clergy, what was he doing? He was just searching the question paper and grasped it tightly. Very tightly he was holding the question paper in his blood-stained hand. His hand is also blood-stained. So in that hand he was holding the question paper. Get the governor. I know where Evans is. What he is saying, you don't bother about my treatment, or don't call the ambulance. I just wanted to speak to whom? I just wanted to speak to the governor. Call the governor. Almost immediately sirens were sounding, and a prisoner ran away, means the sirens began. Prison officers barked orders, running around. Puzzled prisoners pushed their way along the corridors. People were running here and there in the veranda. Doors were banged and bolted, and the phones were ringing everywhere. Lot of sound. And within a minute, McCleary, with Jackson and Stephens supporting him on either side. So, what is another thing? A lot of problems were going on. Confusion, people were running around, telephones were ringing, and siren sound is there. And McCleary was accompanied by whom? Jackson one side and Stephens. And his face now streaked means lined with blood and caked with drying blood, fully blood, was greeted in the prison yard by the governor. He was taking outside the prison. Who was standing there? The governor was there. Perplexed. Governor was perplexed. Perplexed means confused, and grim. Grim means very serious. And we must get you to hospital immediately. I just don't. So, governor, after seeing McCleary, the first things he said that we have to take you to the hospital. You have called the police, but the McCleary asked, did you call the police? Yes, they are on their way. But I am all right. I am all right. Look here. Awkwardly. Awkwardly means in a rough manner. He opened a German question paper and thrust it before the governor's face. He just shown to the the governor's face. It is there. Do you see what I mean? He is asking. The McCleary is asking in the question paper, do you see? Then the governor looked down and realized what McCleary was trying to tell him. A photocopied sheet had been carefully and cleverly superimposed over the last page of the question paper. What was there? In the last page of the question paper, another paper was very cleverly placed on the pasted on the another, that is superimposed means placed over another thing. See what they have done. You see, AC means you see what they have done, governor. You see. His voice trailed means diminished off again. As the governor dredging means pulling up fear from the bottom, the layers of long neglected learning. He is just trying to recollect the German language, what he learned, willed himself to translate the German text before him. So, he had seen that attached paper fixed on the question paper, and he tried to read that paper, because he has to really think about it, because he learned the German at in which standard? In the 6th standard. Okay, I hope you will understand the story. Thank you.